Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The phone didn't ring. It vibrated against the mahogany table like a trapped hornet, shattering the suffocating silence of the boardroom. Dominic Thorne did not tolerate interruptions. At 32, the CEO of Thorne Heavy Industries was a man carved from ice and old money. A predator in a bespoke three-piece suit who could dismantle a competitor with a single arched brow. The 12 board members froze, their eyes darting between the glowing screen and the alpha at the head of the table. Dominic's hand, large and scarred across the knuckles, a relic of darker days, hovered over the device. He should have ignored it. He was seconds away from acquiring a shipping conglomerate that would cement his family's legacy. But the screen lit up with a preview that turned his blood into liquid nitrogen. Asterisk unknown number. Help. The bad man is hurting Appa again. He says he won't stop this time. Please, mister. Nice guy? Appa is bleeding. Asterisk. The air in the room seemed to vanish. Dominic stared at the message, the words burning into his retinas. Appa, an omega term. Asterisk mister. Nice guy. Asterisk. Mister. Thorne. The opposing CEO ventured, his voice trembling. Is everything ALR? Get out, Dominic whispered. The command was low, vibrating with a growl that wasn't entirely human. Excuse me. I said, get out, Dominic roared, slamming his fist onto the table with enough force to crack the polished wood. The ferocity of his pheromones, burnt cedar and ozone, flooded the room, choking the air with the scent of an enraged alpha. The executives scrambled, papers flying, abandoning briefcase and dignity alike as they fled the predator unmasked in their midst. Dominic snatched the phone. His twin brother, Julian, was the nice one, the philanthropist who handed out cards to struggling single parents at park benches. Julian had a different number, one digit off from Dominic's private line. A child had made a mistake that was about to save a life, or end several. Dominic tapped into the family's security grid, tracing the GPS signal of the burner phone. It pinged in the East End, the slums, a graveyard of rusted metal and broken dreams. He didn't call the police. The police took minutes. Dominic Thorne took seconds, and he didn't believe in Miranda rights. He strode toward the elevator, loosening his silk tie as the beast beneath his skin clawed to get out. The rain in the East End didn't wash things clean, it just made the grime slicker. Inside apartment 4B, the air smelled of stale beer, mold, and the coppery tang of fresh blood. Elian huddled in the corner of the kitchen, his body curled protectively around his ribs. He was beautiful once, perhaps, with hair the color of spun honey and eyes like forest moss. But now he was a canvas of bruises. His lip was split, swelling rapidly, and his breath came in ragged, wet gasps. You think you can hide money from me? Marcus sneered, pacing the small linoleum floor. He was a beta, but a large one, fueled by cheap whiskey and a lifetime of inadequacy. He kicked a chair, sending it skittering against the wall. I know you picked up extra shifts at the diner, Elian. Where is it? I spent it on Leo's medicine, Elian wheezed, pushing himself up on one trembling arm. He had a fever. Liar, Marcus backhanded him. The sound was sickeningly wet. Elian's head snapped back, colliding with the cabinet. He slumped to the floor, darkness flirting with the edges of his vision. From the hallway closet, a small whimper escaped. Marcus froze. He turned his head slowly, a cruel smile stretching his face. Is the brat awake? Maybe he knows where the cash is. No. Elian gasped, adrenaline spiking through his exhaustion. He scrambled forward, grabbing Marcus's ankle. Leave him alone. Marcus, please. He's 5. Don't touch him. Marcus kicked Elian off effortlessly. If you won't talk, maybe his screaming will motivate you. He marched toward the closet. Elian tried to stand, but his legs refused to obey. He dragged himself across the floor, his fingernails scraping against the linoleum, leaving faint red streaks. No. Marcus. Kill me, just don't. The front door didn't open. It exploded. Wood splinters rained into the room as the frame disintegrated under a force of nature. Marcus spun around, his eyes widening. Standing in the ruin of the doorway was a figure shrouded in the storm. Lightning flashed behind him, casting a shadow that stretched long and terrible across the room. Dominic Thorne stepped inside, his designer shoes crushing the debris. He was drenched, his black suit clinging to his broad shoulders, his silver hair plastered to his forehead. But it was his eyes, glowing with a feral, golden luminescence, that stopped Marcus's heart. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus stammered, backing away from the closet. Dominic didn't speak. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on the sobbing Omega on the floor, then shifting to the man standing over him. The scent of distress, sweet vanilla turned sour with fear, hit Dominic, triggering a protective instinct so violent his vision blurred red. "You," Dominic said, his voice a calm, deep baritone that was infinitely more terrifying than a scream. "You are the one who made the child beg." It's a domestic dispute," Marcus said, raising his hands. "You can't be in here. I'll call the cops." "Please do," Dominic said, taking a slow step forward. He removed his suit jacket, folding it neatly over the back of the only standing chair, then unbuttoned his cuffs, rolling up his sleeves to reveal thick, corded forearms. "They might get here in time to identify your dental records." Marcus lunged, pulling a switchblade from his pocket. It was a foolish, desperate move. Dominic didn't even flinch. He caught Marcus's wrist midair, the sound of bones snapping echoing like a gunshot. Marcus screamed, dropping the knife, but Dominic wasn't done. He twisted the man's arm, spinning him around and slamming his face into the wall. The drywall cracked. "Not in front of the child," Dominic murmured into Marcus's ear. He dragged the limp man toward the open door and threw him into the hallway like a bag of trash. Two large men in black tactical gear, Dominic's personal security detail, were waiting. "Take him," Dominic ordered, not looking back. "Somewhere deep. Somewhere quiet. I want him to regret the day he was born, and then I want him to disappear." "Understood, sir," one of the guards said, dragging the sobbing, broken man away. Dominic turned back to the room. The silence was heavy. He walked toward Elian, who was pressing himself against the cabinets, eyes wide with terror. To Elian, this wasn't a savior. This was just a bigger, more dangerous monster. "Don't," Elian whispered, shielding his face. "I don't have any money." Dominic stopped. The rage in his chest evaporated, replaced by a dull ache. He crouched down, ignoring the blood on the floor that would ruin his trousers. He kept his hands visible, palms open. "I'm not here for money," Dominic said softly. The closet door creaked open. A small boy with messy brown hair and tear-streaked cheeks peeked out, clutching a cracked smartphone. Are you Mr. Nice Guy?" the boy squeaked. Dominic looked at the child, Leo. He looked at the phone in the boy's hand. He looked back at Elian, whose consciousness was fading. "No," Dominic said, his voice rumbling with a strange, dark promise. "I'm his brother. But I'm going to take care of you now." Elian's eyes rolled back, and he slumped forward. Dominic caught him before he hit the ground, lifting the Omega into his arms as if he weighed nothing more than a ghost. Waking up felt like floating. Elian blinked, expecting the cracked ceiling of his apartment. Instead, he saw a vaulted ceiling painted with frescoes of angels and storms. He was lying on a bed that felt like a cloud, wrapped in sheets that smelled of lavender and expensive detergent. He bolted upright, a gasp tearing from his throat. Pain flared in his ribs, but it was dull, muffled. He looked down. His bruised torso was wrapped in clean bandages. He was wearing a silk shirt that was 3 sizes too big. "Leo," he croaked, panic gripping his chest. "He is eating pancakes. Chocolate chip. I was told they are essential for growing boys." Elian whipped his head toward the corner of the room. A man sat in a velvet armchair, reading a tablet. It was the monster from the storm. In the soft morning light, however, he looked different. He wore a charcoal turtleneck that emphasized the width of his shoulders, and reading glasses perched on his nose softened his sharp features. "Where is he?" Elian demanded, swinging his legs off the bed. His dizziness returned, and he swayed. Dominic was there in an instant, his hands steadying Elian by the shoulders. The touch was electric, hot, and firm. Elian flinched, bracing for a blow. Dominic froze. A shadow of pain crossed his face, but he didn't pull away. He simply held Elian until the vertigo passed. "He is in the kitchen with my housekeeper, Martha. She has raised 5 children. He is safe. You are safe." Elian looked up at him. "Who are you?" "Dominic Thorne." The name hit Elian like a physical blow. Everyone knew the Thorne brothers. They owned half the city. Julian Thorne was the darling of the media, the gentle philanthropist. Dominic Thorne was the shadow, the ruthless corporate raider known as the Viper of Wall Street. "My son, he texted you," Elian whispered, the pieces clicking together. "He has a number on a card. From a man at the park." "He missed a digit," Dominic said, guiding Elian back against the pillows. "He reached me instead." "I have to go," Elian said, panic rising again. "Marcus. He has connections. He owes money to a loan shark syndicate. If he finds out I left." "Marcus is no longer a concern," Dominic said. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "And neither is the syndicate. I bought their debt portfolio this morning at 4 a.m. They work for me now." "Which means your debt is erased." Elian stared at him, unable to process the magnitude of what he was hearing. "Why? Why would you do that?" Dominic walked to the window, looking out over the sprawling city skyline. He seemed to be wrestling with something. "Because when I walked into that room, I smelled you." Elian stiffened. It was an Omegaverse reality. The concept of fated mates was rare, almost a myth, but the biological pull was real. "I am a broken thing, Mr. Thorne," Elian said quietly, looking at his bandaged hands. "I am used goods. I come with debt, a child, and baggage that will ruin your reputation." Dominic turned. He walked back to the bed, his movements predatory yet graceful. He placed a hand on the mattress, leaning over Elian, trapping him without touching him. "You think I care about reputation?" Dominic asked, his voice low and rasping. "I am not my brother. I do not want to save the world, Elian. I want to burn it down for the few things I claim as mine." He reached out, his thumb grazing Elian's cheekbone, avoiding the bruise there. "And make no mistake. You are mine now. You and the boy. You will live here. You will heal here. And if anyone ever tries to touch you again, I will dismantle them bone by bone." Elian searched Dominic's eyes for deception, for the cruelty he was so used to seeing in alphas. He found only an intense, golden abyss of possession. For the first time in 5 years, the knot of terror in his stomach began to loosen. "Leo likes extra syrup," Elian whispered, a single tear escaping. Dominic smirked, a dangerous, devastatingly handsome expression. "I'll let the chef know." The weeks that followed were a slow, agonizing dance of recovery. Elian expected demands. He expected Dominic to claim the payment for his rescue in the bedroom. That was how the world worked. Nothing was free. But Dominic was a contradiction. He was an intense, brooding presence who filled the penthouse with his heavy pheromones, yet he treated Elian like glass. He bought Leo every Lego set in existence. He sat with Elian during the nightmares, silent and vigilant in the dark, a guardian gargoyle keeping the demons at bay. But the trauma ran deep. Elian flinched at loud noises. He apologized for existing. He tried to make himself small. One evening, a storm raged outside, mirroring the night of the rescue. The thunder shook the glass walls of the penthouse. Elian was in the library, trying to read, but his hands were shaking uncontrollably. The flashes of lightning brought him back to the apartment, to Marcus's fist. Dominic entered the room. He had just returned from a gala, still wearing his tuxedo, his tie undone. He saw Elian trembling and stopped. "Elian," he said softly. Elian jumped, dropping the book. I'm sorry. I'm clumsy. I'll pick it up." He scrambled to the floor, his breathing hyperventilating. "Stop." Dominic crossed the room and knelt before him. He didn't grab Elian. He simply placed his large hands on the floor on either side of him, creating a barrier. "Look at me," Dominic commanded. Not a shout, but an order that vibrated in Elian's bones. Elian looked up, eyes wide and wet. "You apologize for breathing," Dominic said, his jaw tight. "You apologize for taking up space. It infuriates me." "I know I'm sorry No," Dominic cut him off. "It infuriates me because I want to kill the man who made you this way all over again. You are not a burden, Elian. You are the only thing in this house that makes it feel like a home." Elian's breath hitched. "You don't know me. You just feel the bond. It's biology." "Screw biology," Dominic growled. "I've met plenty of Omegas. I've never felt anything but indifference. But you fight. You survived hell for your son. You are stronger than any alpha I sit across from in the boardroom. Dominic leaned in, his forehead resting against Elian's. I don't want a submissive pet. I want the partner who clawed his way through the mud. I want you to stop trembling and start commanding. I want you to tell me what you want. Elian closed his eyes, the scent of cedar wrapping around him. For the first time, he let himself want. He let the wall crumble. I want. Elian whispered, his voice shaky but real. I want you to hold me. And I don't want to be scared anymore. Dominic let out a breath that sounded like a prayer. He wrapped his arms around Elian, pulling him off the floor and into his lap. It wasn't a sexual embrace. It was an anchor. Dominic held him with a crushing pressure that grounded Elian, silencing the storm outside. Then I will be your shield, Dominic vowed into Elian's hair. Until you are ready to be the sword. The peace was shattered 2 months later. It wasn't Marcus. It was Dominic's father, the patriarch of the Thorn dynasty. A man who believed omegas were ornaments, not partners, especially not omegas with baggage, like an illegitimate child. Elian was in the garden conservatory, teaching Leo how to plant tulips, when the elder Thorn arrived. He was surrounded by lawyers. You will sign this NDA and leave. The old man spat, throwing a check onto the dirt. My son is infatuated, but he has a merger to complete. He needs a pristine image, not a charity case from the slums. Leo hid behind Elian's legs. The old fear flared, the instinct to run, to protect. But then Elian remembered Dominic's voice in the library. Until you are ready to be the sword. Elian looked at the check. $5 million. Enough to run forever. He picked it up. The lawyers smirked. Elian tore the check in half. Then in quarters. He let the pieces flutter down onto the muddy boots of Dominic's father. I am not a charity case, Elian said, his voice trembling slightly, but gaining strength with every word. And Dominic is not a merger asset. He is a man who loves his family. If you want me to leave, you will have to make Dominic throw me out himself. You insolent little, the father raised his cane. I wouldn't do that. A voice cut through the air like a guillotine. Dominic stood at the entrance of the garden. He had come home early. He wasn't wearing a suit today. He was in casual wear, sleeves rolled up, looking every bit the dangerous physical threat he was. But it wasn't his muscles that were terrifying. It was the absolute, frozen calm on his face. Father, Dominic said, walking over to stand beside Elian. He didn't push Elian behind him. He stood with him, shoulder to shoulder. If you ever raise a hand to my mate or my son again, the Thorn legacy ends with you. I will strip you of your shares, your board seat, and your pension before you can blink. You would destroy the company for this. This stray, his father sputtered. Dominic looked down at Elian. Elian looked back, chin high, eyes clear. He is not a stray, Dominic said. He is the crown. Dominic turned to his father. Get out, and tell the board that Elian is my partner. In life, and soon, on paper. Anyone who has a problem with it can resign. The old man turned purple, sputtered, and eventually marched out with his tail between his legs. When they were gone, Elian felt the adrenaline crash. His knees buckled, but Dominic was there, catching him. You tore the check, Dominic said, a grin spreading across his face. A genuine, boyish grin that Elian had never seen. It was a lot of money. Elian laughed breathlessly. I might regret it. I'll write you a bigger one, Dominic promised, lifting Elian's hand to his lips. I'll give you the whole damn bank. I don't want the bank, Elian said, pulling Dominic down for a kiss that tasted of rain and promise. I just want the wrong number. Too bad, Dominic murmured against his lips. You got the right one. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf, by letting the wolf tame him right back. If you enjoyed seeing Elian find his voice and Dominic destroy his enemies, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you have taken the $5 million and run, or stayed to fight for the billionaire? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then, prompt image. Prompt, masterpiece, best quality, high-res, 1.2. Korean manhwa style, semi-realistic, digital art, 2 men, BL, yaoi, man 1. Tall muscular alpha, sharp facial features, silver hair slicked back, wearing black turtleneck and glasses, intense golden eyes, protective posture. Man 2, smaller slender omega, messy honey-colored hair, soft features, wearing oversized silk shirt, bandaged hands, looking up with trust. Background is a luxurious penthouse library with floor-to-ceiling windows, showing a stormy city skyline, rain on glass, dramatic moody lighting, emotional atmosphere, cinematic composition, sharp focus, intricate details.